The biker was riding slow that evening, the kind of slow ride a man takes when he's trying to clear his head. Jake had taken a wrong turn off the highway, thinking he'd find a shortcut, but instead he found silence, deep, heavy silence that didn't fit the busy town just a mile away. Old houses stood like shadows, windows broken, doors hanging loose. Something felt wrong the moment he stopped his bike, like the street was holding its breath. He was about to turn back when he heard it, a tiny knock, then another, almost like someone was tapping on wood with shaking fingers. Jake froze. His hand tightened on the handlebar. "No kid should sound scared like that," he whispered without meaning to. The sound came again, this time weaker. He followed it to a small abandoned house that looked like it hadn't seen life in years. The roof was sagging, and the front porch creaked under his boots. He pushed the door gently, it opened with a tired groan. Inside, dust floated in the air like fog, and then he saw her. A little black girl sitting on the floor, knees pulled to her chest, wearing a tiny jacket that was too thin for the cold. She didn't cry loudly, she just looked at him with wide, tired eyes, the kind that hold stories no child should ever carry. Jake knelt slowly so he didn't scare her. "Hey, I'm not here to hurt you," he said softly. The girl didn't answer. She only pointed toward the corner, and Jake felt his heart drop. Whatever she pointed at, whatever detail was waiting there, made his breath stop for a moment. A chill crept up his spine as he whispered the viral line of this section. "No child gets this scared unless something terrible happened." And when Jake finally understood what he was looking at, tears filled his eyes before he could stop them. His hands shook as he reached for his phone, and dialed 911. The 911 operator picked up, but Jake couldn't speak at first. His throat locked. He kept staring at the corner the little girl had pointed to, a blanket on the floor, folded neatly over something small. Too small. Too still. The operator kept asking, "Sir, what's your emergency?" But Jake could only force out broken words. "It's a child, another child, I think," his voice cracked. He looked away so the girl wouldn't see the fear on his face. She was watching him carefully, like she was trying to read if he was safe, or just another grown-up who would walk away. He took a breath and tried again. "Send help. Please, send help now." The operator's tone changed immediately, sharp and alert. "Stay where you are. Officers and medics are on the way." Jake lowered his phone and turned back to the girl. He tried to smile, but the truth was written across his face. She crawled a little toward him, moving slow, as if every inch hurt. That alone told him she hadn't eaten or slept properly in days. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She hesitated, then whispered, "Maya." The way she said it, small, careful, like she was afraid her own name could get her in trouble, made Jake's chest tighten. He took off his leather jacket and wrapped it around her tiny shoulders. For a second, Maya flinched, then relaxed, leaning into the warmth. Jake glanced again at the blanket in the corner, the detail he had noticed earlier, and a fresh wave of emotion hit him. It wasn't just a blanket. It was a message. Someone had tried to take care of Maya, and then something went horribly wrong. Outside, the distant sound of sirens began to rise. Maya's eyes widened with fear. "No, no police, they'll take me away," she whispered, shaking her head. Jake shook his head firmly. "Not this time, kid, not on my watch." Then he said the viral line for this section, the one that made Maya finally lift her eyes to his. "Sometimes the right stranger saves you more than the wrong family ever did." But just as the sirens got closer, Maya pointed to the back door. Someone had been there recently, and they might still be close. Jake felt every muscle in his body tighten when Maya pointed toward the back door. The house was supposed to be empty, abandoned, forgotten. But the way the torn curtain moved slightly, like someone had touched it not long ago, made his stomach twist. "Maya, who was here?" he whispered. She didn't answer. She just hugged his jacket tighter and looked down at the floor, her little shoulders shaking, not from cold this time, but from fear that came from memory. Jake stood slowly, careful not to make noise. The sirens were getting closer, but not close enough. Whoever had been in the house could move fast, or hide better. He took a step toward the back door. The floorboards creaked, and Maya flinched hard, too hard for a normal reaction. Jake turned back instantly and kneeled beside her again. "It's okay, hey, look at me," he said softly. Maya looked up, tears balancing in her eyes. He said, "If I make noise, he'll come back," she whispered, voice trembling like it was breaking apart piece by piece. Jake felt heat rise in his chest, anger mixed with helplessness. He wanted to promise her nothing would hurt her again, but he didn't want to lie. Not to a kid who had already heard too many lies. So he said the only thing he knew he could stand behind. "You're safe now because I'm staying right here, no matter who shows up." Outside, the sirens suddenly stopped, meaning the police had arrived at the street but were approaching on foot. Jake looked toward the broken window and saw two figures in uniform moving quickly. But before relief could settle in, Maya tugged at his sleeve with frightened urgency. "Don't let them see the paper," she whispered. Jake froze. "Paper? What paper?" She pointed toward a dusty dresser in the corner. A single piece of folded paper sat on top, placed neatly, almost intentionally, like someone wanted it to be found, but not by the police. Jake walked toward it slowly, heart thumping, mind racing. As he reached for it, Maya grabbed his arm one more time. He said, "If they read it, he'll come back for me." Jake opened the paper anyway. And the moment he saw the first line, he felt the blood drain from his face. Jake's hands shook as he unfolded the paper. The room felt colder, like the walls themselves were waiting to hear what was written. Maya stared at him, her breath unsteady, her knees pulled tighter to her chest. Jake read the first line, only 5 words, and those 5 words hit him like a punch. "She belongs to me now." His heart dropped. The handwriting was rough, messy, as if written in anger, or written fast before leaving the house. Jake squeezed the paper, his jaw tightening. Whoever wrote this wasn't just careless, he was confident. Confident enough to leave a message behind. Jake didn't want Maya to see his fear, so he folded the note quickly and shoved it in his pocket just as 2 officers stepped through the doorway. "Sir, hands where we can see," one officer began. Jake raised his hands, but before he could explain, Maya let out a small cry and hid behind him. The officers paused instantly, realizing this wasn't a crime scene, this was a rescue. "She's scared," Jake said quietly. "Go slow." One officer softened his voice. "Sweetheart, we're here to help." But Maya only pressed her face deeper into Jake's back, shaking hard. She wasn't scared of the police, she was scared of what the police would find, or expose. The second officer scanned the room, noticing the blanket in the corner, the dust disturbed near the back door, the broken lock. "Someone was here," he muttered. Almost to himself. "And they left recently." Jake felt his stomach twist again. The officer stepped closer, looked down at the blanket, then turned pale. Whatever lay under it made him lift his hand slowly to his radio. "Dispatch, we're going to need detectives here. Immediately." Maya squeezed Jake's arm so tight it hurt. "Don't let them touch him," she whispered. "Him." Jake breathed. Maya nodded, tears finally spilling. "My brother." Jake felt the world tilt for a second. He had assumed the worst, but hearing her say it, hearing the pain in her voice, made everything inside him break a little. He whispered the viral line of this section, the one that even made the officers look up. "No kid should learn loss before they learn safety." And then the officer lifted the blanket. Jake looked down, and whatever he saw made his knees go weak. The story wasn't just tragic now. It was terrifying.